Cieszynski is Chief Market Strategist at SIA Wealth Management. Colin, it's great to have you with us. What's your take on the mood of investors right now?
I think investors are getting a lot more uncertain and concerned about the health of the economy at the moment. I mean, following the U.S. election, we had a massive rally in stocks and also in cryptocurrencies, just an area that benefits from high investor confidence. Everybody thought that Trump coming in would be all sunshine and rainbows for the economy and immediate good news. And what they missed was that a lot of changes can bring disruption as well in the shorter term, even if it's still beneficial in the longer term. But we've seen a major realignment in that in recognition that in the short term, that getting from A to B can be quite a bumpy road.
I'm interested in what you think on the Delta profit warning. It's trimmed its earnings per share forecast. It's trimmed, really slashed is a better word, its sales forecast by $500 million US. And what's striking, Colin, is this comes only months after the company issued fourth quarter results and issued a very upbeat forecast for US travel demand and its own sales and profit growth. And the reason it cites is diminished consumer confidence, diminished corporate confidence, both arising from increased macro uncertainty. And and that's being interpreted by traders and investors as being at least an indirect and at least partial reference to the Trump tariff policies and the effect that they are having on perceptions of the U.S. economy and the ability of corporations to forecast where the economy is going. What do you make of that?
I think you in a lot of ways, you've hit the nail on the head there, Paul, is that with the changes that have come in with significant cutbacks in U.S. government spending, with tariffs and trade wars getting started, and other disruptions within sectors, that yes, consumer confidence has come down, and so has business confidence, and it's a case of increased uncertainty. And when people are more uncertain, they're not quite as willing to go running out and spending large sums of money. So, and this seems to be could be the beginning of this. Like, this could go on for quite a while until everything sorts itself out. So we may see more of this.
That's partially my next question. Delta, in my understanding, issued this outlook at an industry event. It's not part of a earnings release from Delta, and we're in between earnings seasons right now. The fourth quarter results have been reported. The first quarter results will come sometime in late April and early May from major U.S. corporations. Would you expect more of this as companies in late April, early May, as they roll out first quarter results? Would you expect more big U.S. corporations to say, we have trouble forecasting where this economy is going right now, and we're concerned about the macroeconomic backdrop?
Absolutely. The first few weeks of every quarter, we call it confession season, which is when companies that do think they realize they're going to miss their targets often put out profit warnings or guidance. So yeah, we'd be looking at kind of towards the end of this month and the first couple of weeks of April could be a key time for these types of announcements, because the other one we'll also be watching for, in addition to the economy, is in a lot of cases, what is the impact of the US dollar on their earnings as well. There were a couple of companies right at the end of earnings season that started to warn that, hey, the high US dollar also could have an impact on their profits. So we may see more of that too as we move into the spring.
The Fed is expected to make an announcement on March 19th. That's coming up in just over a week. Do you expect the U.S. Fed in its commentary to make direct references to tariffs and economic uncertainty?
I think they will. They're usually pretty good about noting what kind of risks are out there, even if they don't quantify them. But at this point in time, I don't think they're going to make any immediate changes to interest rates. But we'll see what happens, because they're also going to release their member forecasts for interest rates for the rest of the year. So we'll see what comes of that.
That's Colin Cieszynski. He is our featured guest of the morning. He'll have lots to say about these markets as